Hey book friends, I can't believe it's the end of summer and we are talking about August today. We are talking about my August book plans. In this video, I like to do these reset videos. I like to talk about my potential TBR, any readathons I want to do, books that are being released in August, as well as book haul. Any books I've picked up over the last month or so. So let's just hop into all of that. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back. So let's just hop into, let's do my TBR because it's fairly short. I feel like I have a little bit more wiggle room this month than prior months, but let's just hop into the first book, which is the book I'm reading for my reading challenge, linked down below. It's Ink Blood Sister Scribe by Emma Torres. Now, this is for, what's my prompt? It's for hyped book. Now, this book isn't hyped anymore, but when I made this list, it was a little bit more hyped, and I'm still hyped to read it. So it is going on for our August buddy read. But of course, you can participate in the challenge and just read any hyped book that you feel calls to you, that you want to read. Please do that, and just let us know what it'll be. I love to see what you guys are reading. It's just really fun in the Discord. So this book has to do with sisters and a bookshop. So it's about, it says, two estranged half-sisters tasked with guarding their family's library of magical books. They must work together to unravel a deadly secret at the heart of their collection, a tale of familial loyalty and betrayal in the pursuit of magic and power. So honestly, I really don't know more than that. I've wanted to read it forever. It's very pretty, it's very purple. So this is going on in August. Now, I have a number of other books that I'm reading. Let me do the ones that are for a variety of things. I am participating in a read-along on Gwen's Patreon, so I will link her channel and her Patreon down below. So we are doing a read-along of the whole Inheritance Games kind of world, saga if you will, and I'm so stoked because 2 new books come out this year. But in July, I guess this current month, we read Inheritance Games. You guys, I love these books so much. They're very quick reads. They're very enjoyable. I really enjoy the characters. The brothers are so much fun. This is about Avery, who's down on her luck, living in her car, when she finds out that she is included in the will of this billionaire from Texas. And she goes down there and she learns all these things. And the first book was so much fun with her learning about her inheritance, if you will, and then the brothers or the grandsons of this billionaire and all the games and riddles and puzzles and things they do, which is just my favorite. Now this moves on to the Hawthorne Legacy, which is book 2 in the Inheritance Games trilogy. Now, I've already read it and I really liked it and I'm really excited to reread. I honestly do love rereading, and so I probably wouldn't have picked this up if it weren't for the read-along, so I'm happy to do that. So let's just talk next about the book club from Patreon, from Gwen's Patreon, the Night Owl Book Club. And now in August we are reading Two Sides to Every Murder by Danielle Valentine, I think. Now this is a YA murder mystery, and so I feel like I'm reading a lot of YA murder mystery and really enjoying it lately, so I'm psyched about this. So this has to do with, I think, our 17-year-old protagonist. She's somewhat involved in these murders at a camp that happened kind of in her past, that happened around the time she was born. And it sounds like her mother was convicted of committing those crimes at that camp. And then something to do with her father not really being her father. And I think maybe she has to kind of figure out what's all going on or what happened in her past. Not quite sure, but that sounds really interesting. So I'm excited to pick up that book. I haven't got my book yet, but I will. I think I'm gonna either get it from the library or just pick it up from Barnes & Noble. So that's another book I'm reading in August. So the next book I want to read in August is the Sleep When I'm Dead book club pick. So this is a book club run by Jessie from Reading with Jess. I'll link her down below as well. So what was voted for the month of August is the new Sherry LePena. I've never read any of her books. I think it's called What Have You Done? I'll put it up here. And so from what I understand, this is basically, there's like this sleepy town in Vermont or Connecticut or someplace, and nothing bad ever happens. Nobody locks their doors, things like that, until it sounds like a teenage girl is found dead in a field, and it really rocks the whole community. I don't know, sounds really fun, but I want to pick that up, and I do have a hold-in at the library for that book, so hopefully I will get that in time to participate in August. And the next book I'm reading is a buddy read that I'm reading with Tammy, who is a fellow Patreon on Gwen's Patreon, and we are reading the new Ruth Ware I'm so excited. One Perfect Couple. So I've heard nothing but good things about this. It sounds like Survivor meets, well, I can't remember. Survivor meets The Bachelor. That's it. That's what I've heard it described as, because it has to do with like this TV show that involves couples. And these couples come to an island and the best couple wins. And I'm not quite sure how that's decided or what goes awry, because I'm guessing something goes awry if like people start getting murdered, and it has kind of more of that and then there were none trope. I'm honestly not sure, but I've heard really good things and I think I will like it. I've been really enjoying Ruth Ware lately. So those are the books on my TBR. That's only 5. That's only 5 books. So that means there's a lot of room for me to pick up other books, which is really good. It'll be really fun to see what I'm in the mood for, because none of those books, now that I'm looking at it and thinking about it, are really very fantasy. Like Inkblood Sister Scribe is, but that's not exactly how I view fantasy. I think of it more as like this one, which maybe I'll pick up this one this month, which I'll show you when I haul it, because I'm just thinking I'm in the epic fantasy mood. So we'll see what else I pick up come August, but that's the current TBR. And now into readathons. So readathons, I'm going to try to loosely participate in Battleathon. So this is hosted by Mel from Eleanor Reads. I'll link her channel down below. I'll actually just link her announcement video for this month-long team-based reading challenge that kind of has to do with like a bracket system. Like you pick your team and then you read books, and you get more points if you get 5 stars versus 1 stars and things like that. So you just read. I like it because it's a little bit more open to all genres, so I can read all these books and maybe some fantasy books, and it doesn't really matter what I read. So I'm gonna pick a team, I think, and I'm just gonna participate because those are pretty fun. I like these big team challenges because I don't feel as bad if, for instance, I stop doing it, but it does encourage me to read more, and so I love that about these reading challenges. So that's the one I'm thinking of participating in. Now, as for anticipated releases for August, I feel like there's a few, but none of these books are something I've been waiting all year for. I feel like there are some books that I'm curious about. Like, for instance, this one. So this is The Chamber by Will Dean. And so I've heard his name. I've never read his thrillers. This has to do with like one of those, what are they called? Hyperbolic chambers. And I guess like people get trapped inside one and then someone is murdered. So it's kind of a locked room mystery, which when I heard it described that way, I was like, okay, I'm putting it on my list. So that's coming out in August. And I'm sorry, I don't have publication dates. I never really do. But I have that one. And then I also have this one, The Trap by Ava Glass. I read the first book in this series. It's like Pennyfield or Agent Penny something or other. But it has to do with these like spies, British intelligence agents, and they're just fast-paced books. It's just really fun. The first book was called Alias Emma or something like that. It's so good. It was so fun. I enjoyed it. And so this is the 3rd book though. So I want to read the 2nd book before I read this one, but I heard this has something to do with they're trying to lure in some Russian bad guy, and she is kind of using herself as bait. And so I think that sounds really fun, and that's coming out in August. And the last one I want to mention is Society of Lies by Lauren Ling Brown, I think is her name. It's right here. This sounds really good. It kind of has dark academia flares to it. So if this gets pushed to me reading it in September, totally fine. But it has to do with this woman who is going back for like a college reunion. I can't remember what college it is, but she was once part of this kind of secret society, and she's also going back for her sister's graduation from the same school, except when she gets there, she finds out that her sister has died. She has to figure out like what's going on. She finds out that her sister was also part of this secret society, but maybe she went a little further and she was part of the secret part of the society. I'm not quite sure. It just sounds very dark academia, very fun, and I just really enjoy kind of college campuses and murder and all the things. So looking forward to that book. And then the last book I have for anticipated releases in August is a book I already actually own because my sister gave it to me so that we could read it together. She had like multiple copies, and it's called Voyage of the Damned by Frances White. So this comes out in August, and it is about this place, Concordia, where there are 12 magical blessings that I think are in the form of people. And they have to like take this trip or voyage to this island, or no, it's the Sacred Goddesses Mountain. And the heirs of the 12 providences are all there with their blessings and all this. And then there's this other guy who's there who isn't blessed at all, and I'm not even sure why he's on the ship, but then people start dying and goes from there, and it just sounds really interesting. It's kind of giving me a little bit of vibes, which this is not even the same genre, but Devil in the Dark Water, where everybody's kind of confined to a ship and scary things and crazy things are happening. So those are the books coming out in August. As for book haul, I have a few things. I already held this up. So I was at Barnes & Noble with my kids the other day. They had completed the summer reading challenge for Barnes & Noble, and so they were picking out their free books. So I was like, well, I need to get a book. And so I was having a tough time deciding, and I saw this book on the shelves, and one is a bit of a cover buy. It's called A Flame in the North by Lilith St. Croix. And now I've never heard anybody talk about this book, and that's okay. I don't mind that. What drew me to the book was it has Norse-inspired epic fantasy. So this is described in a way that was very similar to that previous book I read, A Fate Inked in Blood, and I just didn't like it, and I've said how much I don't like it. Now, what I think is this book is going to give me the things I wanted from that book. This has to do with a girl who's favored by the gods, and she has like a powerful fire magic. Her brother does something to like anger people, and then there's some punishment they have to like face in the north, and she only has her loyal shield maiden, which the shield maiden part kind of reminded me of that other book, but I'm guessing this doesn't have any romance, or maybe mild, which is more my speed. So I'm excited to pick this up. It's the first book in the Black Lands Bane trilogy, so I picked that up on a whim. And then this book I picked up as a recommendation from one of you when I was saying that I don't think I like romantasy. And someone recommended this because it's a lot more like kind of slow burn, more on the fantasy side than the romance side. And it's a first book in a trilogy, not a trilogy, I think I like a whole series. And it's called A Tale of Stars and Shadows by Lisa Cassidy. And this might be indie published, I'm not quite sure. It sounds like it's about our main character, Talon, who is a strong fighter, and her partner were like invincible when they were together, except it sounds like something happens that makes her partner be torn away from her, and she is left kind of broken, and now there's this mission that might kind of help restore her. I don't know. It is honestly the first book. I picked it up based on your recommendation, which, like I said, I think in the last video when I was reading your guys' recommendations, I honestly always write it down. And sometimes I just purchase things that you say you think I might like. So I did. Okay, the other books I have to haul are from my sister. She read them and she enjoyed them, but she's not going to reread them. So she passed them on to me. And they're these beasts of books. Now this book, The Priory of the Orange Tree, has always been something I'm interested in, right? People talk about this, they talk about this as like their most intimidating read on their shelf. Like, it's just a very big book. It's, I guess, pretty dense in its descriptions, but I've heard it's just a really well-crafted story. And I want to know what it's about. I want to know what everybody thinks of it. I tend to be okay with a slower moving, character-driven plot, and I think that's more what this will be. It is so big, it hurts to even hold it up. It gets in the like 800-page book. And then she also gave me this book, which I believe is a prequel to this book. And it's called A Day of Fallen Night. And these are both by Samantha Shannon. I should have said that before. Now, I've heard good things. I've heard people who have loved this and then people who have found it super boring. And I will read it in this order. This one first and then this one. I thought about, well, maybe I should just read the prequel and then this, but I think it makes the most sense to read it in publication order. So that's my plan. And then the last thing I picked up was this book. Actually, I did pick up quite a few more books. Let me get into that. But I'm going to share this on here because I'm reading this as part of a read-along on Keisha's, but I'll link her down below, where they read a lot of like, I think Christian fiction. And in this case, it's a nonfiction book called Being Elizabeth Elliot. And I'm really excited to pick this up because I've always been inspired by the woman of Elizabeth Elliot, and I think there's going to be some really just amazing nuggets that I can hold on to and help grow my own faith, if you will. So I'm reading this one, and this is also part of my stack of personal development books, which I just put out a video on my other channel. I do these kind of yearly stacks where I'm picking books that are like this, that are kind of spiritual, but more often they're like either homeschool resources or child development resources, like talking about how to raise emotionally strong boys, worry-free girls, what are some like life skills. I got a life skills book. It's just, I have a whole stack of books that are for kind of my betterment, if you will, that help me grow in all these different areas and help me become a better mom, homeschooler, friend, person in general, if you will. So I'll link that video. I didn't want to put it in this video as well, just because I made it dedicated list over on my homeschool channel. So yeah, those are my plans for August. I'm super jazzed. It's gonna be a good month. I feel like there's a little wiggle room. I can pick up some stuff. I can participate in readathons if I want to, which is the way I like it. And so if you get to the end of the video and don't have anything to say, which is totally fine, but I love knowing you're here, let's do a tree. Or an orange tree for Priory of the Orange Tree. Something to do with those two things. Otherwise, you guys comment your thoughts on the books, comment anything you want, because I love interacting with you all. Like the video, subscribe if you want to, and you guys, I will see you in the next book video. All right, take care.